Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I gotta keep this phone on the charger because I used up all the juice watching the draft. And I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the energy that Malika Andrews and Perk and gosh, I remember my guy's name, but I thought they did a pretty solid job. I think the most important thing that I would say about that draft is I've always said this isn't new, but I think they need to really simplify the players' destinations upon the names of the teams being called, because what you end up having in certain situations tonight was it was so many different trades taking place at once that you would have a guy put on one hat, you'd have the background with a different name of the team, and then you would have in the corner with the emblem down there telling you that they were trading the pick to a different team. So it was so much confusion in regards to how these players were ultimately ending up. But I thought it was a pretty solid display. I've seen worse drafts. So what stood out, obviously, out the gate was that we did end up getting the surprise that I was hoping we would get. They announced earlier today that they were going to have three players, the first three picks straightened out and ready to go. And, we were assuming Smith was going to go first, and of course, Chet going second, and Paolo going third, but that is not how it played out. The Orlando Magic pulled a fast one and drafted Paolo Banchero, finally got his name right, Banchero, with the first pick. And I thought that was questionable, man. I hadn't done as much homework on him as I had done on some of the other guys, but I felt like he was like my fourth favorite prospect through doing homework. I know he's an amazing offensive talent with a lot of strength, and because of it, he's going to be able to do a lot of things. And I understand he can facilitate as well, and that's a really incredible thing when you have a big player. So you think Blake Griffin, you think Ben Simmons with scoring intent, and that works. But the problem is the defensive side of the ball. And when you're a big guy and you can't play D, you can score all you want, but it's tough winning a championship when you're that kind of guy. I think of a guy like Amari Stoudemire who comes to mind. I can't think of a guy who could put up so many points so really, really, really fast, but then give up so many points on the other end just as fast, negating almost all the progress that he'd give you. So he'd come out with 43 points, 15 rebounds, but his opponent came out of there with 38 points. So it's like, I don't know if Paolo's defensive issues are that bad, but listening to how they're being described, I have those concerns. Now, a lot of times you listen to the people who do the scouting and all of that, they tell you a guy has a deficiency, and then you see him on the floor and it's not there. It's just gone. He works his way through it. So if a guy as talented as Paolo puts his intent on playing defense, and the Orlando Magic surround him with the right defensive talent, I'm pretty sure he'll get the most out of himself on that side of the floor. But my thinking was, I have a hard time passing up on defensive big men with all of the different things that are out there for you to deal with offensively already. You need to be able to defend bigs. It's cool to put up a bunch of points, but at the end of the day, if you don't have any rim protection and that player who's deficient is on the floor all the time because you need scoring and you drafted him first, then chances are you're going to have interior paint issues. And I look at the Orlando Magic, Wendell Carter. I don't know if Wendell Carter to be a fantastic defensive player. They're letting Mo Bamba go. He is a defensive player. Now, I know they're getting Jonathan Isaac back. So maybe he comes back healthy. He'll help with the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, the guards that they picked up, both Anthony and Suggs, are known for playing both sides of the floor. So they should be a good defensive team as they put themselves together. But if Paolo is as bad a defensive player as they say he is, and he needs to be on the floor for 36 plus minutes a game, I can see that being a problem. I can literally see that being a problem. It could really cap the ceiling of the team overall if your best player can't play a lick of defense. So that was my only concern, and quite honestly, I didn't see enough of him to know if that concern is actually something I really would have with my own two eyes. You know what I mean? So I'm just ignorant as it pertains to these players, and I'm just looking forward to seeing if this guy is Blake Griffin, like they say he is, and is that good enough for the Orlando Magic? Is that good enough? I look at Chet Holmgren going to OKC. You guys, if you follow me, you know that's a match made in heaven. If you ask me, I understand that everybody's concerned about his slight frame, but I look at what his skill set is on both sides of the floor, his length, and also his demeanor. He looks like he's a real balanced kid, real down to earth kid. Looks like he's made of the right stuff. So that looked like a great pick for the OKC Thunder, and I think they did a really good job tonight. I think they did a really good job. In fact, I could argue they won the whole draft. I could argue that because they had a lot of picks in the first round, and I just think they knocked them all out of the park. They got Osman, if I'm not mistaken, Osman Jang, I believe is his name. And then they turned around and got the kid that I was telling you guys about, Mark Williams, with the very next pick. So I look at that OKC team, and I honestly think they could potentially be one of the deepest teams in all of basketball when all those players fully develop. With just all the lottery picks and first round picks that they're picking up, gems that they're finding in the G League and in the second round, Presti has done a fantastic job, man. Really has. And I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's hoarding picks." I made the mistake of saying it was Broussard. It was actually Nick Wright who was making that point. But Nick Wright was saying, "Oh, there's Ponzi scheme." No, bro. They're just not done building yet. You're looking at day 3 of a 10-day plan, essentially, is how I look at that OKC situation. They're still building, they're still hoarding picks, and they're still maneuvering their plan, and it's going to take some time. They're not calling it the process, but it's basically the process. OKC style, And given the fact that they have such a history of drafting so well, I don't have any reason to think that they're not going to do, that they didn't do great tonight with these prospects. So looking at them, pretty excited there. And then the Rockets, I mean, if you have Smith fall to you, clearly he was supposed to be the first overall pick in most people's draft boards. If he falls to 3, I mean, you won. You just take the player that they didn't take. Obviously, they had plans for Paolo, but this could potentially be a better situation. My concerns with Paolo is that he's not a defensive player. They got Smith. He's an excellent defensive player. So now you're adding an excellent defensive player to a Houston situation when you weren't even intending to do so. I could argue that Christian Wood last year even though he's a fantastic offensive player, can do a lot of things for you, block a lot of shots, he's not known for being a sound defensive player. So I could argue, and I think most people would argue, they could potentially upgrade it and shave salary. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people would have said that anyway by picking up Paolo. So, you just got to love what the Rockets did tonight. Plus, they got Ty Washington. They did a few other things tonight that I thought was really good for themselves as well. So you got to give them credit. When you're looking at what Sacramento did, I thought they did a good job. And I'm saying that because I truly believe that Jaden Ivey could have went 4th. A lot of people felt like he was good enough, but they skipped on him and they went with Keegan Murray, and that was the right decision because Jaden Ivey did not provide them his medicals, and I think that was signaling to them that he wasn't serious about their organization, and they can't afford to take those type of chances with the history that they have. So Keegan Murray is a balanced player who's going to do a lot for them, a smart guy who's going to score a lot of baskets for them, and be a balanced level, high IQ minded player. And given the fact that they let go of one in Tyrese Halliburton, I'd imagine picking up a player like that in this draft is a good thing. Now, someday you're going to look up and wish to God you had both of them, but it is what it is. So, I'm not going to go through the entire first round, but I'm looking at these first couple picks, and I really like what happened here. You're looking at the Pistons, and of course they take Ivy, and he was the star of the show tonight because he couldn't keep it together, and he was crying like a baby. And it meant a whole lot to him. You understand these guys are living their dream, and they've wanted this their whole lives, and so it's always an awesome situation to see raw emotion like that, and you hope it translates to guys having that fire to work hard. And given the fact that he's going to Detroit, I think that's what's going to be expected of him. So they got a new core now, man. It's nothing minor about what took place in Detroit. Some will argue they won the draft tonight because they gave up one future first-round pick and turned it into two, basically. Picking up Jalen Duran, a center, and also, of course, getting Jaden Ivey. So I felt like they did as good as anybody tonight. I don't know what this means for Stewart, but at the same time, you're just adding another huge defensive minded and lob threat in Duran, who I think could help you in a lot of other areas as well. As I learn about him, I'm pretty sure there will be more to say, but you just look at what they did tonight. It was really good. I like the Pacers picking up Mathurin. They also got some other guys. I thought they did a really good job in the second round, picking up a lengthy guy, if I'm not mistaken. So you look at the Pacers, they did a fantastic job. I think they helped themselves a lot, getting defensive-minded, getting wings. And that was what also was very predictable. Wings, man. Wings. They were flying off the board like crazy. You would have thought it was a wing stop out there. Anybody that was a small forward of any kind seemed like they got drafted. There were more small forwards drafted tonight than I've ever seen. There was more trades tonight than I've ever seen. This was a very unique draft. I'm not going to lie. Very, very unique. Like every third pick was traded. And a lot of them were first round picks, which was really interesting to me. You know, the New York Knicks, they had the 10th pick in the draft. And I got to say, this is not a bad thing. But it's just one of those situations where Knicks fans are yet left kind of scratching their heads. But they traded the 10th pick for 3 future first-round picks. Now, to be honest with you, that's exactly what I would have did. I would have did that same thing. I think the Knicks knocked that out the park. I think that's an excellent decision. I think it's a no-brainer if you have a chance to acquire a first-round pick. You know how hard it is to get those. And then you have what's considered a semi-important lottery pick, and you turn it into 3 of them. That's a home run. That's a complete home run. So I like what the Knicks did tonight. You know what I mean? I'm sure they would have liked to add a player to help their situation, but to be honest with you, they're just in a weird tweener type of spot right now. It's to where they have some contracts that they know aren't good enough to help them win, but unfortunately those contracts are not good enough to get rid of. Nobody's going to want to take those. So it's probably going to take picks to get rid of them. So I think what they did was give themselves a little cushion to try to create that flexibility. So I really like what the Knicks did tonight, and we will see if they move some of those future firsts to try to get out from under Fournier, or try to get out from under Burks or something like that, whatever it would take to move on from salary. Because I know they want to get in the mix for some players, and it's going to be hard to get rid of those guys. I'm telling you, ain't nobody going to take that Fournier contract. So maybe if you attach a first, maybe you can get it done. So I like what they did. and they got some players in the second round, I think, too, to give them some youth. So I tell you, man, even though it's a second round pick, I got to admit, I love what the Lakers did. They picked up a guy by the name of Max Christie. He's definitely going to be a guy who's going to need to put on some weight, so I don't expect him to help us right away. But when you consider the type of guards that are out there, you consider the need for shot making, you consider the need for 3-and-D players and length, I think my Lakers did a fantastic job picking up that 35th pick and selecting Max Christie out of Michigan State. So I'm pretty sure I'll be making an entire video on that because I'm a Laker fan and you know how I get down. But just continuing to talk about the draft, I like Portland. This is another thing about Portland. I should have made a video on this, but it's weird because I looked at Shaedon Sharpe's name, and it was something that took place to where I was looking also at Shannon Sharpe's jersey about 3 weeks ago, and I was looking at the Broncos jersey and just looking at the word Sharpe on the back of his jersey, and I was just saying that word Sharpe looks really, really nice phonetically, etc., etc. And then what flashed in my mind at that time was the Portland Trailblazers emblem, and this the era of the whole I don't know what it was. I like the Clyde Drexler era and the Terry Porter era. I don't know what it was, but it just flashed in my mind the word Sharpe and the Blazers, and it the two things connected to me somehow. It was like I could see the word Sharp on the back of a Blazer jersey or something. And sure enough, today, at random, he does fall to the Portland Trailblazers. Now, of course, he was in that range anyway, but I just thought that was kind of strange on a personal level for me. Either way, I think he's going to be a fantastic pick for their team because he's explosive. They just picked up Jeremy Grant. Excellent, explosive player as well. So you can clearly see that they're looking to high fly next year. I don't remember who it was on the back of that Portland bench that they picked up that also was doing a lot of high flying for them. I don't remember who it was, but they found somebody, I think from the G League or something, who's also a high fly act. So look out for the Portland Trailblazers. They're putting together a vision for their team that I really, really like. And I do not think they're done at all. They still got a lot of cap space and a lot of wiggle room to move and continue to get better. So adding Shaedon Sharpe, adding Jeremy Grant, more cap space. Maybe OG Anunoby, maybe somebody in that vein. Maybe they try to make a move for Ayton or something like that. The Portland Trailblazers are going to be very good. They still got Anthony Simons, still got Nasir Little. I think they're going to be something else. When you start seeing what Shaedon Sharpe can do in terms of getting off the floor and electrifying a crowd, the type of dunks that this man is capable of, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Portland got a different energy next year. It is not the same. It is not the same. That's all I'm going to say. And just moving on, it was just a lot of different things that I thought were really good. Minnesota, I thought, got a sneaky pick, man. They picked up a guy, a 7-footer with long arms. Now, they already have Karl Anthony Towns in place, but this guy is the best shot blocker in the game, and I just feel like when you consider some of the issues that Karl has had defensively in the paint, and you consider some of the other players that they have on the team who are really good defensively, you add another 7-footer with 7'5" wingspan that is just gifted at blocking shots. I'm really, really intrigued by that pick. Extremely intrigued by them adding another center. Karl Anthony Towns sits down. They still have elite shot blocking on the floor at all times. So be very, very careful going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves because they see the value in length. So that's something that stands out for me quite a bit. I like that pick. What else? There were so many other picks too. A lot of good stuff tonight. Benedict Mathurin going to Indianapolis I thought was fantastic. So you just gotta love it. You just gotta love what you saw there. I think a lot of teams did some good things for. I'll tell you this. A lot of players' kids. Samaki Walker's son was picked in the end of the second round. AJ Griffin, I had no idea was Adrian Griffin's son. I remember him playing with the Mavericks back in the day. So many different situations like that. Ron Harper's son, unfortunately, did not get drafted. I'm pretty sure he'll get some looks later on, though. But it's just interesting to see how these kids are developing and coming along. Kids of the WNBA, you can see how that league is now developing NBA players. You know what I mean? Kids of the moms. You know what I mean? Players who played in the WNBA. You can see how that league is now contributing to the NBA. So I think that's really exciting. Looking at Mark Williams being drafted and seeing how I believe it was his mother or his sister, is big time in that league. So you can just see it. The game is evolving, and what you're seeing is influences from areas that otherwise you wouldn't expect it. Players that weren't superstars are giving birth to superstar kids, and so you're seeing that type of thing manifest. And I'm really excited about it, Finding out like Jabari Smith, for example, is Kwame Brown's cousin, like those type of things. It's like you could clearly see the game is continuing to push along, So, yeah, that stood out, man. Great night. I'm pretty sure there will be plenty more for me to add to this. I'm off the top of the dome right now in terms of my memory. There's plenty to talk about. But I'll tell you this. I'm going to get back to you on the rest of this draft, of course, and give you more as I learn more about these players. I think right now I'll make a video on my Laker guy and drink some water, of course, to get my voice back. But, yeah, man, BDF44, I thank you all for tuning into what I'm up to, and I'm out.